Provenance, noun, the place where something originally comes from. Welcome to Provenance. I'm going to pull out something that is very, I guess, meaningful for me. Well, let me pull it out first. So this is a box that says, Dear Grandmother. And I collaborated with my grandmother, Dot Martin. Pretty cool name for your grandmother. And we collaborated for many, many years. So also in 2003, we did our first collaboration, and we did these needlepoint pieces, kind of sewing, that said half white 1980 and half white in 1980. One is in black and white and one is in white and black. And after that, my grandmother said, you know, what else? And that was the beginning of us collaborating together for, I think, 15 years. And I would send my grandmother instructions to her from wherever I lived in the world, from London, from Japan, from America, and she would sew something and send it back to me. And so let me open this up so you can see what I'm talking about when I say sewing or needlepoint. So currently I have an exhibition at the New Britain Museum of American Art, which is in New Britain in Connecticut, and we have an exhibition there of many of these pieces, but there are still some here, so I'm going to pull these out. Okay, so this is what I mean by needlepoint. It's on that, you know, kind of plastic mesh, and then you can see that my grandmother has, you know, picked a couple of different colors and sewn some of these. So we have Friends for Life, Merry Xmas, CC, and the notorious RUU. And so, you know, this is probably my most sentimental project I've worked on, and also the most, I guess, longest collaboration, if you could say that. So I collaborated with my grandmother from 2003 until she died, I think in 2015. And I don't know if any of you have any living grandparents, but grandparents are the best. They have a craft, they know how to make things with their hands. So if you have any grandparents out there, I'd love you to think about what do they make, and can you collaborate with them? Maybe they make carpentry, maybe they're sewing, maybe they make sweaters, I don't know. You know, ask your grandma or your grandpa what their skills are and perhaps collaborate. So like I said, let's see what else we have in here. Maybe we have some of these letters. So when I was younger, my grandmother used to sew us very horrible cardigans. She would sew, you know, I think she would buy the cheapest material on sale, which would always be bright orange or bright pink, and you know, something that no one else wanted. And then my grandmother would take those and sew us these cardigans that me and my sisters would be so embarrassed to wear to school. So we would wear them to school and then take them off before we got there. But she would use these types of patterns. So this is something, you know, these are one of these patterns that I guess you would get in the magazine or a TV guide. And, you know, it would show you how to make something like this, Donald Duck. So you could either sew it onto a sweater, or you could sew it kind of on a needlepoint, and it shows you all of the colors. Let's see what's in the middle here. Yes, these all look very familiar. Baby knitting. We all had these types of clothes growing up that were knitted by my grandma, my nan. Some Mickey Mouse there. So these are the types of things that, you know, I guess my nan, she would get that in TV Guide or some magazines, and then she would sew them. So I remembered that she did that when I was younger, and so when I was at university and working on my final art piece in 2003, that's why I got her to sew me those pieces black and white, 1980. But so let's see. I'm just going to I'm not really sure what's in here because I haven't really looked for a while. Oh, this is cool. We got these are like bookmarks. Maybe that's where sometimes I find crucifixes in my drawings, and maybe I got that from my grandmother. These are some bookmarks. And the blue tape on the back, that's just the inventory number so that I can find that in the inventory system. So that's stuck on some of the backs here. But why this project was so important for me is that it opened a line of communication. My grandmother, she was English, she was much older than me, and before we started collaborating, we didn't really have much to call her. I called her on the phone because she's my grandmother, and we would talk 10 minutes about the weather. What's it like there? Oh, it's cold, it's raining, and we would talk about the weather, and then we would hang up. And so for the first time, this gave us the opportunity to talk about something else. So I would say, dear grandmother, please sew me RUU, any color, any size. And she would make me something like this, so that the next time I called her, I say, Nan, what does RUU mean to you? And then we would have this really interesting conversation where my grandmother would say, like RUU, that doesn't mean anything, because you are you and you can't be anyone else. And so the magic of a collaboration like this is that we could talk about something else other than the weather. We would have a cross-generational, cross-racial conversation. Some of the pieces would talk about race. This is my white grandmother and I'm biracial, I'm black. And so through this collaboration, through the works that we would do, I could have those conversations with her about her perspective of what it means to be a white older woman in England, and what it means for me as her biracial or black grandchild growing up in England at that time. And so I highly recommend any of you to explore collaborations with people that are not in your generation, collaborations that are not in your race, collaborations that are not in your class. Basically just meet people who are different from you, because you'll learn so much. And when I look through here, I see, so these are some of the letters that she wrote to me, or some of the envelopes that she used to send me some of these things. You can't tell, but this box smells really nice, and I think that's because she might have sewn lavender into one of these pieces. Oh, I might have to pull this one out next Christmas. We got a Santa Claus and a little tree. And I'm going to show you some pictures of some of the other ones that we did that talk about race, that talk about identity. So that's that. So this is Dear Grandmother, some of those pieces, a little bit about where they came from, a little bit about how they were made. And yeah, I've just generally been keeping them in this tissue paper in this box, which I think is, kind of a good way to store them for now. It looks like there's a letter in here that I wrote to Martin, aka Nan, and it's, what do you call it? It's post-stamped from Fusa. So I was living in Fusa in Japan in 2005. It looks like this is post-dated. It's got a cool little post-date thing there. And so, it's an interesting thing when your grandparents die. I don't know, it's kind of dark, but you can keep all the letters that you wrote them over your lifetime, and you get to see little snapshots of yourself. So I found the letter. It looks like it's from August 22nd, 2005. And it says, Dear Nan, how are you doing? I've just remembered to send you some contact numbers and stuff. My two friends, Max and Wing, came to Japan today, and my friend Daisuke. my old flatmate, is already here. It's been fun, lots of shopping and eating, but it's still so hot still. But I don't mind so much because I'm not working. We have been taking lots of photos, so I will be happy to send you some very soon. Remind me. Hope everything is cool. Speak to you soon. Love, Shantell. This is back. It's funny, I mostly write in capitals now, like this, so it's interesting to look back at a letter and kind of see how bad my handwriting was. Spelling's still pretty bad, but that's to be expected. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's kind of a strange feeling to look back and find letters from yourself 15, 16 years ago. And, you know, when I was in Japan, I'm working part-time jobs, I'm trying to survive, you know, I'm doing the art thing a little bit. And here we are, 15 years later, 20 years later sometimes, and we're looking back at the work that I've done. You know, when I wrote this letter, I had no idea I would ever become an artist. So it's kind of magical to have these moments where you can look back and see that you wouldn't change anything. You know, all those struggles, all those part-time jobs, all those troubles or journeys that you had are to bring you to where you are now. And so it's really amazing as an artist that we have these objects, or we have these things that allow us to look back at our younger selves and realize that that was all to get us to where we are right now.